We're going to talk about mental health in America, Hurricane Beryl and climate change, and various other political news, trending news. Click the link to join. Let's chop it up. Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active.
Looks like we got us another hit.
Did you tell her to get away from me? She's crazy.
Choose your destiny.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active. Investigate both sides of the argument. Come up with your own conclusions.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? How y'all feel? Remember, an educated public cannot be controlled. Learn to be active. The views and events expressed here are totally whacked and are not necessarily the views of anyone. ¿Cómo estás? Bien, bien, bien. Podemos ayudarnos más? Si se puede. And don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please. Yeah, so happy 4th, you guys. You know, I have one of those neatly folded flags, the ones they fold in like a triangle, and it has like the perfect little triangle package clear that it goes into. Yeah, my dad was in the military, and when he passed away, they gave it to me at the funeral, and I've kept it. And you know, I have mixed feelings about the flag, but I do keep that, you know, and it's like a memory of my father and, you know, sacrifices. And I think about America, United States, how people are treated today. And again, I have mixed feelings, you know. The United States, they've come a long way, right? They've come a long way. And you know, things change with time. You know, United States is a young country, really, historically. So, you know, comets go fast, you know, things that burn bright, burn out quickly. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Let's look at this. Because what I want to talk about is mental health in America. You know, how we tend to have this bipolar disorder where we go through these manic episodes where we have these extremely jubilant and happy moments, and then we have these really low depressive moments as a country and as individuals. We have great things that we've done, and we've done some pretty terrible things too. And I think for us to move forward, we have to move forward together, but we also have to realize and take in the reality of, like, some things that we've done haven't been so great. you know we've done some great things, but we've also done some things that weren't so great. So for us to be able to recognize reality and make good decisions and move forward and grow, we got to take all of that in. So we got to take credit for the things that we've done well, and we also have to take credit for the things that we haven't done so well. you know we can't deny either or of those things and then be able to think that we're going to be able to move forward successfully, and continue to grow and prosper. So let's look at some history right quick. I think that's a good place to start. So let's look at this. It says the 4th of July, also known as Independence Day or July 4th, has been a federal holiday in the United States since 1941. But the tradition of Independence Day celebration goes back to the 18th century and the American Revolution. On July 2nd, 1776, the Continental Congress voted in favor of independence, and 2 days later, delegates from the 13 colonies adopted the Declaration of Independence, a historic document drafted by Thomas Jefferson. From 1776 to the present day, July 4th has been celebrated as the birth of American independence, with festivals ranging from fireworks, parades, concerts, to more casual family gatherings and barbecues. The 4th of July 2023 is on Tuesday, July 4th. I don't know why they added that. I guess that's how old this is. December 16, 2009. Ooh. Updated the 24th, 2024. Yeah, so I think it's always good to start with history. Let's see. Is there a video?
With no fees or minimums and no
Don't
overdraft
want
fees,
the
banking with
ads.
Capital One is the easiest decision in the history.
We're inundated with ads. It's the apocalypse. My hands are all sweaty, so I can't even control this mouse very good either. I don't even know what this video is going to be. I didn't check this out beforehand, which is dangerous when you're doing a live show. Y'all got to forgive me. I'm a one-man show.
Every summer, Americans celebrate the anniversary of our nation's birth on July 4th, 1776. That's when the Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence, the revolutionary document in which the 13 American colonies announced they were free from British rule. But bet you didn't know, some people think we should actually celebrate on July 2nd, not the 4th. That was the day the delegates actually voted on the Declaration. They just didn't have the written document completed and printed until the 4th. Ready for some more 4th of July facts? Well, for starters, Philadelphia's famous Liberty Bell was not rung on July 4th, 1776. Its big moment came 4 days later, on July 8th, to honor the first public reading of the Declaration. No fewer than 3 presidents, all of them among the nation's founding fathers, died on Independence Day. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died hours apart from each other on July 4th, 1826, 50 years after the nation declared its independence from Britain. James Monroe also died on July 4th, in 1831. From the beginning, Americans marked the birth of independence with parades, speeches, music, and public readings of the Declaration. Artillery salutes, a key feature of the earliest Independence Day celebrations, went out of fashion as cannons fell out of use by the late 19th century. But there's one early tradition that hasn't gone out of style: fireworks. Congress first authorized pyrotechnics as part of 4th of July celebrations way back in 1777. Today, more than 14,000 fireworks displays go off across the nation every July 4th. The largest of these is the Macy's 4th of July Spectacular in New York City. Some 75,000 pounds of fireworks go off during the roughly half-hour show, which is attended by 2 million people. And since 1941, most Americans have gotten to enjoy a little relaxation with their fireworks. Congress made Independence Day a federal legal holiday that year. And we bet you didn't know, it's one of only 4 federal holidays, along with New Year's Day, Veterans Day, and Christmas, that are celebrated on the same calendar date each year.
New York City. Get a rope. Let's read a little bit. It says, when the initial battles of the Revolutionary War broke out in April 1775, few colonists desired complete independence from Great Britain, and those who did were considered radical. So the people that wanted to be free, quote unquote, of Great Britain were considered radical. You know, that's something to think about. You know, a lot of times when we talk about like progressivism, you know, and people wanting change, being independent from Great Britain would be a dramatic change. That's not incremental. That's dramatic. Like that's overnight. Like boom, boom. It's a wrap. You know, and a lot of people are like, you know, we don't like sudden radical change or whatever, and we rather do these incremental type of deal. And do you think that they would have been successful at being independent from Great Britain if they had that kind of attitude? And the attitude that people have towards people who want great change and then calling them radical, you know, that's what's going to lead to things staying the same. It says, by the middle of the following year, however, many more colonists had come to favor independence, thanks to growing hostility against Britain and the spread of revolutionary sentiments, such as those expressed in the best-selling pamphlet Common Sense, published by Thomas Paine in early 1776. On June 7, when the Continental Congress met at the Pennsylvania State House, later Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the Virginia delegate Richard Henry Lee introduced a motion calling for the colony's independence. Amid heated debate, Congress postponed the vote on Lee's resolution, but appointed a 5-man committee, including Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, John Adams of Massachusetts, Roger Sherman of Connecticut, Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, and Robert R. Livingston of New York, to draft a formal statement justifying the break with Great Britain. So they voted in favor, formally adopted on the 4th. Declaration of Independence. Let's see this.
with no fees or minimums and no.
It's going to be the exact same ad. Or what's in your wallet? Y'all remember Washington Mutual? Got gobbled up by Chase. That's the bank account I had. My bank account number is still the same as my Washington Mutual bank account number. Like, it didn't change. Washington Mutual don't even exist no more.
The Declaration of Independence, for me, is one of the best pieces of writing I've ever seen.
It's a revolutionary document for a revolutionary statement.
You cannot help but be stirred when you read those words.
Thomas Jefferson's writing is absolutely magnificent. And when he wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." That was the first time anybody had bothered to write that down.
And then you turn the clock back and think of when he was writing, how young he was, what a statement it was, given the history of the world at that point. And you feel the excitement of being on the cusp of something so profound that it's hard to put it into words.
If you review our Declaration of Independence, it has those beautiful words about all men are created equal and governments are formed among men to represent the people. It's a good statement of what we're all about.
Represent the people, and all men are created equal. I think about how I was reading something that I didn't really realize was that a lot of those guys were really young at this time, and the way our government is set up now, it's pretty much all older folks. And then they look at the younger generation and they say, hey, you guys, y'all don't know anything, live a little while more, and then maybe you can make some better decisions. And it's like, when you're young, you're liberal, and when you get older, you get more conservative or whatever. And it's like, I look at that and I think about it, and I'm like, whenever you see these younger folks protesting, they're on college campuses or whatever, they're calling for change or whatever, and then they're like, get a job, you commie or whatever, you don't know anything. A lot of the comments when we had the college campuses protests happening earlier this year, a lot of them were saying, these kids, they don't know anything. Like, these guys who wrote the Declaration of Independence was about the same age as those college kids that were out there protesting. And then you can say, oh, well, they were smarter back then or whatever. Like, whatever. Come on, man. Like, this goes to my point about the mental issues that we have. We like to accept certain facts and deny others when it's convenient. So there's no reason why our government should be made up of all old folks. Now, there should be a representation, a certain amount of representatives that are older, just kind of like a fair sample of the population. You know what I mean? I'm okay with that. But if they're all like 70, 80, the president's 80 something years old, it's okay. But every time, I don't know. That's just an argument that I have. Maybe some young blood will make a difference in the government.
And that's the only thing people remember about the Declaration of Independence, that it was about all men are created equal. But it's really roughly a 28 count indictment against King George. And therefore, because of the way in which the British Crown treated us, we now declare that we are a free country. And we want to let you know why. Now, if we're going to have a war, we're going to have a war.
They needed to fire up the people so they could support,
in
going to war.
1776, you have the Continental Congress meeting in Philadelphia, debating a unified position for the colonies with respect to the hostilities that have already broken out. And the fundamental issue between them is, are they fighting for their rights as Englishmen within the British Empire, or are they going to fight for independence? And they're seriously divided. People who are perfectly willing to resist the tyranny of the British government are not necessarily willing to strike for independence. But there's a groundswell in favor of it, I think, in large measure because they recognize that having provoked the lion this far, there's no going back.
All of a sudden, you have this group of people who are going, no, we're not part of some great chain of being with the king at the top of it. We are free people. We can vote for who we want to have in charge. And we're not going to tolerate you telling us that we have some class status we have to be trapped in. It says, we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, meaning that Parliament in London, the king himself, the courts cannot interfere and take away your rights because the state can't take power from us. So even to this day, it's probably the most central difference between America and every other country in the world.
It goes well beyond what was needed in order to declare independence. It establishes a philosophical basis for a civil democracy in which all persons are guaranteed rights by virtue of their personhood.
This political genius not just in Jefferson, but in Adams and all the other people who collected here. They saw a new time for humankind, which is that we can be free and that we can make decisions for ourselves.
Yeah, well, I have issues with it when they say, everyone can be free and, all men created equal and all of that. When they was writing those words, they had slaves. So they didn't think that those people deserve to have, like, all men created equal or whatever. Everybody has rights or whatever. Obviously, they didn't include them. They didn't include the Native Americans. They didn't include women. It was basically landowning white men is what they were talking about. It doesn't say that explicitly, but if you look at the way people were treated at the time, then you have to come to that conclusion that, because if they really felt that way, then you wouldn't have segments of the society who didn't have rights. And, that's from the inception of this whole thing. That's a reality we have to face. It says early 4th of July celebrations and traditions. I don't know if I want to read that. Let me see.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One
Come
is
on.
the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than this.
I don't know what page I'm on, why this keeps popping up, but whatever. Let's go back. A federal holiday. So that was the photo gallery. Miracle. So even from the beginning, there was a disconnect that was happening, and the words were great. They're beautiful. The words are beautiful, and maybe one day we can actually live up to those words. I don't think that we've gotten there so far. It'd be a wonderful day that comes when we actually live up to the words, those beautiful words. Let's look at this right quick. This one, bipolar disorder, it says any of several psychological disorders of mood characterized usually by alternating episodes of depression and mania. So what are some of the other ones? Because that one may not fit as well as I would like it to fit. Do they have links? How do you spell this? I suck at spelling. Um, um, let's see if it has some links. Yeah, give me a second. I should have did this beforehand. any broad range of medical conditions such as major depression, schizophrenia, obsessive compulsive disorder, and panic disorder that are marked primarily by sufficient disorganization of personality, mind, emotions to impair normal psychological functioning and cause marked distress or disability, and that are typically associated with a disruption in normal thinking, feeling, mood, behavior, interpersonal interactions, or daily function. Schizophrenia. So mental illness that is characterized by disturbances in thoughts such as delusions, perceptions such as hallucinations, and behaviors such as disorganized speech, catatonic behavior, by a loss of emotional responsiveness and extreme apathy, and by noticeably deterioration in the level of function in everyday life. It says, note, schizophrenia often involves an inability to orient oneself with reality, a withdrawal from social interactions, and a failure to integrate thoughts with emotions so that emotional expression is inappropriate. There are several subtypes of schizophrenia, including paranoid schizophrenia and those types marked by catatonia or hebephrenia. You know, I think about a lot of these, and I think that, like, you know, there's always levels to these, right? So you have people who have touches of these deals, and they don't have like the full blown where they would be diagnosed levels, you know? And I think about groups of people who, we get influenced by groups, right? And it can impact our behavior. They have been studying for a long time on how they can use these ads to like control people or whatever. And we know that they just kind of like, we're just doom scrolling and they're just beaming stuff into our mind, like constantly stimulated. And I think about how like I say, people who have touches of these different kinds of mental illnesses where the symptoms won't be as pronounced. They're going to be softer, if you will. Let me see. My hands are sweaty and I can't scroll properly right now. It's really causing problems. Obsessive compulsive disorder. That's probably us right there. Chronic disorder characterized by recurrent obsessions or compulsions or both that cause significant distress, are time-consuming and interfere with normal daily functioning. So obsessive compulsive disorder is a chronic illness characterized by recurrent, intrusive, and disabling thoughts, obsessions, repetitive, stereotypical behavior, compulsions that a person feels driven to perform. Yeah, and whenever we think about that, we like, this is also called OCD. We think about like tics that people have, like weird tics that people have. But what if it's just like using drugs or smoking cigarettes or eating, sugar? I think we find ways to medicate ourselves. Nobody, in the United States, it's like there's a stigma to having mental health issues, and they're like, oh, you're crazy? Oh, okay. It's like, bro, I'm not trying to say I'm crazy. I just could use some mental stability, some kind of mental health, like exercises or something, chop it up with a counselor or something, Maybe I just need to go on a trip and go outside and walk around and touch grass, But you can't even have those conversations with a lot of people because they're so superficial that they're going to judge you for that, And it's like, oh, you can't handle it, buck it up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, just handle it. Just deal like the rest of us. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then you're surprised when somebody does something completely crazy, like they crash out, they kill themselves and their family, they jump off a building, or they kill some immigrants and then kill themselves or something. Like the that kind of thing doesn't happen in a vacuum. But I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that you move incrementally to this point of no return. And if at any point along the way someone could have, it could have just been a conversation with a friend that you could confide in honestly and tell them how you're thinking and how you feel about things, and like, you know and maybe there could have been some kind of intervention to help them and take them off of that particular destructive path, just by giving them a hug, or just by listening to them, or just like smiling, giving some kind of moral support, because a lot of times these are there's triggers that's coming from other factors, like economic factors, pressure, having to deal with paying bills and taking care of your family. Like, we talk about men a lot, they're talking about the bear. I don't know if you guys seen it, like the thing that's been going around on the internet, where it's like women feel more comfortable with the bear than with the man, like they're camping or whatever. I can't remember the specific details. I mean, I've seen it a lot, but how it originally set up, I can't think of it at the moment. But it's like they feel more comfortable in the presence of the bear than the man. And I get it. I get it. The point is to draw attention to the like sexual violence and physical, emotional abuse, right? But what we don't talk about a lot is the pressure that are on men, every day. That soft pressure, you know what I mean? That daily pressure of, feeling like they need to provide, feeling like they need to protect, feeling like they have to be strong all the time, feeling like they can't really show any emotion, they can't show any weakness, and even your significant other, even your wife, or even your children, siblings, any of them, if you were to be like, man, I'm kind of struggling, like I'm having a hard time, making it through right now, then they're gonna be like, bro, rely on you to be the strength. So you need to figure. And that thing right there is a real serious thing. Like that's a thing that leads to you breaking over time, when you don't have a chance to be vulnerable ever. When you never feel like you can, let your guard down and let shed some tears. Um, men aren't supposed to cry, right? Anyways, let me see. I wanted to go. I'm losing my point, and my hands are sweaty. I don't know why. Probably because I went to the pool and I'm still like, my body temperature is weird. Let me see. Let's go to something that's gonna be fairly comfortable. Candace Owens. Here it is. Bipolar, schizophrenic, manic depressive. I don't really know what's the proper designation for it, but let me play some of this.
So yeah, if that's what your concern is, if you're worried about camps, we did that. If you're worried about ethnic cleansing, we did that. Don't even get me started on the camps that we forced our own American citizens into following Pearl Harbor. Yep, that's a thing as well. Of course, you remember that. But Japanese, some people weren't even Japanese. They were just Japanese looking. And we went ahead and we put them in camps after Pearl Harbor, and we made them stay there until the end of war. So don't let that be something that you think we're not capable of. But then you move on to the experimentation. Yes, of course, that's been embedded into our minds. The Nazis experimented on innocent people. Candace, come on, that's the difference. They experimented on twins. I mean, some of the stories, by the way, sound completely absurd. I mean, like the idea that they just like cut a human up and then sewed them back together. Why would you do that? Literally, even if you're the most evil person in the world, that's a tremendous waste of time and supplies. Just slice a person in half and sew them together. That just sounds like bizarre propaganda. But let's just go with it. Let's say that that's actually true. Okay, that experimentation is the thing that sets the Nazis apart. Well, why did we bring them all over here thereafter? What was Operation Paperclip? We took all of those top Nazi scientists and we brought them to America. I wonder why we did that. Maybe for a little more experimentation. Have you heard of Dr. Sidney Gottlieb? Have you ever heard of the CIA? If you think experimentation is unique to the Nazis, you need to wake up. Oh, but Candace, the Nazis murdered people with special needs. You heard of Planned Parenthood? They literally tell you to abort your children if they have special needs. You learn that in the school system. And in terms of experimentation, I invite you again as required reading this book, Chaos, man. They're talking about this specific operation that took place under the directive of LBJ, who was also a monster, a monstrous president that we had. And this operation was called Phoenix. And I'm just going to read you just a couple of sentences here. Their attempts were sometimes even more unhinged. In 1968, CIA scientists at the Bien Hoa prison outside Saigon surgically opened the skulls of 3 prisoners, implanted electrodes on their brains, gave them daggers, and left them alone in a room. They wanted to shock the prisoners into killing one another. But when the efforts failed, the prisoners were shot and their bodies were burned. Yeah, it's an operation where we just were mass killing civilians, which we do a lot. But there, of course, if we do it, it's different. It's different because we're not literally Hitler. We drop bombs on entire populations. We firebomb Christians. We drop a nuke on praying Catholics. And if you know about it, you get screamed at by the propagandists in the West. Knowing about it is the crime. The crime is not actually dropping a bomb on praying civilians in Nagasaki. That's not the crime. The crime is not firebombing people through Ash Wednesday in Dresden who were civilians, children. No, that's not the crime. The crime is you knowing. It's me knowing. That's the real problem. And I got to stop knowing these things. I got to stop knowing about Pol Pot. I got to stop knowing about the Cambodian genocide and knowing that, of course, there were people that did worse things throughout history. Especially as a Christian, I have got to stop talking about Henryk Yagoda. They get real upset when you talk about the Bolsheviks. You want to know why? Because the Bolsheviks were never brought to heel. The Bolsheviks never had to face trials. There were no Nuremberg trials for the Bolsheviks. In fact, many of them came to America, and many of them are in positions of power right now. That's why they get real angry when you start looking into history, when you start recognizing that they are intentionally telling Christians to shut up about the Christians that have been killed all across the world. They get very uncomfortable when you know stuff that they did not put into your book when you were in middle school to traumatize you into compliance of believing that the only bad people ever, there's only 2 of them, by the way, Putin and Adolf Hitler. So to those people, I'm just going to say, spare me. Because I'm not going to stop talking about real history. I'm going to educate people that follow me about real history because it's the only way that we're going to prevent these psychopaths from doing more psychopathic things in the future. If you're looking for people that behave like literally Hitler, it ain't me, buddy. You got to start examining your own government. That's all I'm going to say on that topic.
So, yeah, Candace. I don't always agree with Candace. I don't. But I think that she's made some very good points here with this segment. And the point is that I'm trying to make is that, America, they've done great things, but they've also done horrible things, okay? And you want to cover up those horrible things that you've done and just say, America's greatest country in the world, da 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 da. And it's like whenever I look at global politics, most of the time I don't see very many good guys. Like they're all bad guys, on both sides. you have a minority of good guys, if you will. You know, the good guys don't last. You know, they what is the saying? It's like you're a hero until you live long enough to be a villain, something like that. And it's like that's what I see that's has the most truth. You know, you can't you know, the people that you fight against, the others, they are the bad guys every time, you know. And if you look at things in that way, then you're going to be deluding yourself, which leads to mental health issues, you know. When you leave huge blind spots of history, then you don't understand what's happening presently. You know, it doesn't make sense to you. You know, people complaining about inequities or whatever. You're like, what are you talking about? You know, we all have the same opportunities and all of that. And it's like, I mean, if you missed huge portions of history, maybe you would think that way, you know. If you live in a bubble, then maybe you will think that way, you know. If everybody you know has the same opportunities or whatever, then you would think that way. But it's hard like to hold on to that if you just open your eyes, you know. You look at homeless folks, you look at people on the you know, on the sidewalk, and you're like, well, you justify it by saying, you know, those people chose to be there, you know. They don't want to be functioning members of society, so that's the reason why they're there, you know. And then someone else says, you know, there's systems in place that leads to these outcomes that we have, you know. And you know, you again, you explain it away. It's like people who have money and people who do not, and it's like, well, some people work hard and some people don't. And it's like, well, you know, I mean, there's people that work really hard and they still don't have very much. So then what explains that, you know? What I'm trying to say is that when you deny truths, it leads to this mental health issue that we have as a group, as a country, you know. When you teach history in a certain way and don't give the context, it leads to these mental health issues, you know. So it's a Candace Owens argues that America and others are guilty of much of the same crimes Hitler was accused of, but this is ignored as people think only he was capable of such evil. If you're worried about camps, we did that. If you're worried about ethnic cleansing, we did that. Let's see some tweet replies. What is this? It says Hitler never won war with the Christian West. I don't know. I might play that. It says TikTok removed this video. I dare you. TikTok community guidelines is broke with news archives. See, I'm afraid to play any videos like these because they no telling what the hell is in there. Looks like they're showing the newspaper article. Yeah, I'm not going there. It says America haters love you, Candace. America haters love you. Another one that says, I wonder why we don't learn about any of this. So this one, what is it saying? Candace Owens exposes the hidden evils of Allied powers of World War II. It's probably some of the same clip we just played. It says what we're doing it now. It says U.S. government support of Israel genocide of Palestinians have seen unprecedented resignations from U.S. officials. Today, 12 more resigned with a scathing 5-page letter detailing our government's complicity and willful effort to violate U.S. law in order to arm, support, and fund Israel. It says America is better at marketing. Yeah, well, you know how it goes. The people who win the war are the ones who write the history, you know, and that's just how it goes. What actually happened, you know, is always going to be skewed to make, you know, us look like the good guys and everyone else look like the bad guys. But I don't know how you can explain away Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Like there wasn't even a need for that. The war was already winding down. It was pretty much over. They had no reason to do that. Comment, it says she's been spitting too much truth. She's in danger. Well, she already lost her job. I'm sure she's okay. She's got husband, and then she's got her independent stuff that she does. But she's more free to speak more truth, so it's better for us, I think. You know, the media is dying. You know, journalism is dying, and the only place that you can get like it. I like to use what's her name? The girl from MSNBC, like the biggest name from MSNBC. What's her name? I can't think of it. As an example, she's like the highest paid pundit in news media. And you can't think that someone is telling the truth or telling what they really feel about things or whatever if they're getting paid so much money. Like, you know, they have to worry about the advertisers, they got to worry about their producers and all of this stuff. You know, you can't trust them. You can't trust them. They're not going to be honest. They can't be honest and keep their job. As you can see, Mehdi Hassan lost his job. What's his name? Lamont Hill. Can't think of his name. I'm probably saying his name wrong. He lost his job. What's her name from The Hill? I'm drawing a blank. I suck at names. All of these journalists, the ones who are brave enough to try to share truth the way they see it, gets canned. You're supposed to draw the line. You're supposed to stay in line. You're supposed to do what they tell you, you know, and not cover stuff that you're not supposed to cover, you know. And they may not tell you exactly, oh, you can't cover this, but then you see, you know, your coworker get fired for covering a certain thing, then you're like, well, I guess I shouldn't cover that. Yeah. Candace Owens, she's more free to tell the truth now, so it's probably better for her and better for us too. You don't get to make money telling the truth. You know, they pay you out the ass for lies. Let me see. Where do I want to go from here? I'm not going to stay on here long today. I want to cover... Should we do this first? Let's just do this.
No, it's not a game, and this is not a drill.
It says, breaking, the media is finally acknowledging how dangerous Donald Trump and Project 2025 really are. Nicole just proved the clearest explanation. Retweet so all Americans see this. Somebody who's definitely a Biden supporter here. Let's play this.
2025 is their plan. It is serious. It's in writing. It's public. It is a chilling approach to running our federal government that got all the more chilling after the Supreme Court granted Donald Trump absolute immunity. It's the plan that Trump would implement on day one should he prevail in the November election and end up back in the Oval Office. That was actress Taraji P. Henson delivering that warning during Sunday's BET Awards to make sure that her audience and all Americans wake up about what is truly at stake this November, a full-scale reimagining of our entire system of government and who runs it in Donald Trump's image and vision. The mission statement for Project 2025 is a plan assembled by the Heritage Foundation. Sounds like something you'd read on the ex-president's Truth Social feed, and there's no evidence to rebut that that's exactly where it came from. Quote, "It is not enough for conservatives to win elections. If we are going to rescue the country from the grip of the radical left, we need both a governing agenda and the right people in place, ready to carry this agenda out on day one of the next conservative administration." Axios has new reporting on what they describe as Trump's imperial presidency in waiting, writing this, quote, "Trump promises an unabashedly imperial presidency, one that would turn the Justice Department against critics, deport millions of people in the U.S. illegally, slap 10% tariffs on thousands of products, fire perhaps tens of thousands of government staff deemed insufficiently loyal. He'd stretch the powers of the presidency in ways not seen in our lifetime. He says this consistently and clearly, so it is not conjecture." A few other headlines from Project 2025's 900-page plus mandate, putting Christianity at the center of American life and government, criminalizing the mailing of abortion medication, the most common form of abortion care, criminalizing sending that through the mail, taking the word abortion out of all laws, policies, and regulations, as well as terms relating to gender and sexual identity, removing protections for the environment, denying climate change, eliminating the Department of Education.
Eliminating the Department of Education that's pretty damn scary. Yeah, so Trump has been a tool. They've been using him to get the stuff that they want to get done, but at this point you see the Democrats are scrambling, so they are trying to scare their voters into going to the polls and voting for Biden, because they're like, if Trump becomes president, it's going to be the end of the world, so you have to vote for Biden. Damn, they play the same playbook over and over. I don't know. I don't have much patience for that way of talking. Why don't, instead of presenting how horrible Trump's presidency would be, why don't you, as the Democrats, present what you guys would do as an alternative? Like, what is your platform? What are your policies? What are you going to accomplish? And give people something to vote for, instead of giving them something to vote against, because that's not going to motivate me. It's the most important election of your lifetime. I've heard that way too many times for that to be motivational for me. So every single presidential election is the most important presidential election of your ever, every time. At some point that no longer works. I want to talk about climate change, because that was something they did mention on there, and it's like, I don't know at this point. I don't understand how so many people can feel like climate change is not a real thing. I don't know how you can come to that conclusion. I guess that goes with the mental health thing I was talking about and explaining away things. You're going to have a hard time. It's going to get harder and harder as time goes on for you to explain this stuff away. I saw a post today where they were like, the American government has a patent on, creating hurricanes or whatever. So, this Hurricane Beryl is historic, and it's a signal of things to come, and how the effects of global temperatures rising, it's clear. But instead of facing that reality, they want to say, the government created the hurricane or whatever. And it's like, come on, you guys. Like, they do have certain technologies to like seed the weather and stuff like that, but a hurricane, come on, man. Like, I don't know how the problem I have with these conspiracy theories is it's so many moving parts. Like, it's so many things that would have to happen for it to be true that makes it, some of the conspiracy theories are true, I would say. But when it's super complex and you have all of these different parts that have to just fall right into place for it to be true, that automatically makes it like very unlikely. You know, me looking at it logically, like it's too much for that to be true. Like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, what benefit would the government have in creating Hurricane Beryl? Am I saying it right? What would they have to gain from that? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I thought I was sharing. I'm not.
Hello there, welcome to the program. I'm Nick Clark. A storm like no other. That's how Hurricane Beryl is being described as it batters the Caribbean. It's left devastation and destruction in its wake, and more is expected. Warnings about climate change and global warming are reported daily in media right around the world. But this storm's timing, its speed, and its intensity is causing concern among scientists globally. We'll find out more about both the local and the wider impact of Hurricane Beryl later in the program with our guests. And we'll take a closer look at the science behind this particular storm with our senior meteorologist, Rob McElwee. But first, let's have this report from Ume Kulsum Sharif.
Hurricane Beryl is breaking records as it tears to the Caribbean. It made landfall on Grenada's Carriacou Island on Monday, flattening about 90% of homes. It's the strongest storm to hit the southeastern Caribbean in 2 decades.
To see this level of destruction, it is almost Armageddon-like, almost total damage or destruction of all buildings, whether they be public buildings, homes, or other private facilities. There is almost complete destruction of the electrical grid system in Carriacou. The entire communication system is completely destroyed.
Some people who lost their homes on Union Island, a tiny crop in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines archipelago, arrived in the Jamaican capital with tales of what it was like in the middle of the storm.
I survived in my tied area because the top cast. It was a hard 4 hours battling.
You know, like a movie where you just have a lot of devastation. That is how you don't like. It's in a mess.
On Tuesday, Beryl weakened to a Category 4 storm, but remained destructive. Across the region, from the Dominican Republic to Cancun in Mexico, people rushed to stock up and take shelter. In Venezuela, the storm brought heavy rains to the northern state of Sucre. A river burst its banks, triggering floods. Several people have died or been reported missing.
There are 8,000 houses with various levels of damage. We've already responded. Civil protection teams are working with the army to document the damage. They told me at least 400 houses are completely lost.
Beryl is the first hurricane of the Atlantic season and the earliest storm on record to be classified as the maximum Category 5. National Weather Service planes are trying to gather data to understand more about Beryl's intensity and structure. Scientists cite man-made climate change for the storm's rapid strengthening, and there are warnings of an extraordinary season ahead. Kulsum Sharif, Al Jazeera, for Inside Story.
So, what is the science behind this storm and what might just happen next? To explain, here's our senior meteorologist, Rob McElwee.
Beryl is a noteworthy major hurricane. You already know this much. Now, from the point of view of what it looks like from space, it's huge. It goes from the coast of Venezuela right up beyond Barbados and St. Lucia, both of which found the effects quite unpleasant. But the devastation was near the eye. It's a beautiful eye near Grenada. Now, in September, we'd think this is a major hurricane, happens every 20 years or so and not surprising. But it's July, and there's the worry. It's a unique storm. It formed in June, became in 24 hours a Category 4 hurricane. That's never happened before. And then it's the earliest Category 5 in July, with winds well in excess of 250 kilometers per hour. These are how they're categorized. It's the winds just around the inside of the eye, the strongest winds. There isn't a Category 6, so Category 5 will just go up and up as the storms get worse. Now, Beryl, of course, is fed like every tropical storm by the warmth of the surface water. And it is warmer in the Atlantic and the Caribbean by 2 or 3 degrees above the long-term averages. This isn't going to change. It might even get worse, it might get warmer still. So you're inserting more energy for every storm that forms. Hence, Beryl, early and major. And Beryl's still going, barreling through the Caribbean, which is warmer than normal, past Jamaica, still as a Category 4 storm, slowly losing energy as it goes further west, admittedly. But what does this say for our season? Well, in fact, the season was already forecast to be rather worse than normal. Could have up to 25 named storms, well above the average. Maybe 7 major hurricanes, that's Category 3 or above. The average is 3. We've had 1 already. And the drivers are, as you know, the warmer water, which is everywhere, but certainly in the hurricane paths, and La Nina, which is the pendulum swing, almost the opposite of El Nino. It just adds more impetus, so the conditions are ripe for a very nasty season. And you've seen how it started.
Conditions are right for a very nasty season. Let me see. Hold on. 1st June, Category 4 hurricane. And 24 hours, it got to a Category 5, which is something that hadn't happened before. And hold on. They were talking about the weather, the water temperatures being 2 degrees Celsius warmer than long-term average. And then it says this part of the Atlantic is 3 degrees Celsius above long-term average. So, you know, when people will say, you know, it fluctuates, and then they're like, it's cold in the poles or something, or like it was hot and then it's cool or whatever, and it's like, that's so climate change isn't real or whatever. You know, we're talking about average global temperatures. Okay, so try to understand, try to follow it, and understand that just because it's cold somewhere in the world, that doesn't mean that global warming is not happening. Like, I don't know. I feel silly even trying to make these arguments. Like, it makes me uncomfortable. It does. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say, guys. It's real. Okay. It's going to become harder and harder to deny it. Now, the argument that you can make that I will follow you is saying that, you know, the earth goes through cycles and humans' impact was minimal, you know, and it's not overall, you know, the humans' behavior that's driving climate change. Now, there we can have a conversation. But if you say climate change is not happening, global warming is not happening, I can't really have a conversation with you like that. Because the evidence is everywhere.
To bring in everyone in from the island as much as we can. Right now, it's still voluntary evacuation. Today's our last day of operation. So we're doing 5 runs from Key Cocker and San Pedro. The last boat leaves San Pedro at 3 o'clock and 3:30 from Key Cocker. And after that, that's the end of our operations for today until further notice. After the hurricane, we assess whatever damage there is, make sure that our vessels are up and running, our ports are up and running, get our team out back, and we should be in a couple of days. It shouldn't take us long. Right now, we're just in preparation to bring in everyone in from the island as much as we can. Right now, it's still voluntary evacuation. Today's our last day of operation. So we're doing.
So that's Belize preparing for Beryl, which hasn't hit them yet. It's been a lot of memes, like they making diss tracks to hurricane diss tracks. You know, distractions. That's what we do tend to make light of things and make fun or whatever, and that's okay to help you get through traumatic situations or whatever. But I think that the internet likes to, the algorithm, is perfect to distract you from, the reality. You can make jokes or whatever, make diss tracks for hurricanes or whatever, and that's fine. But at the same time, you need to be prepared, especially if you're in the path of it. Like, it's not something to really just play with and joke about, because who knows if you're going to be like, a lot of times it's not a lot of people who die as a result, but it's always a few people that do. And I mean, if I was you or if I am me, I don't want to be that person. And I don't want my loved ones to be that person. Check this out right here. This lady made a little warning deal, like what you do to prepare for hurricanes. It's surprisingly very helpful, I would say, and it's funny.
Hurricane season. Well, not happy. It is hurricane season. Well, don't freak out. This is the view from the upstairs bedroom of the home that I survived Hurricane Michael in. Now, if you don't know what Hurricane Michael is, Hurricane Michael was the 4th strongest landfalling hurricane in the United States. It came in at a whopping 160-mile-an-hour winds, and it was a Category 5 upon landfall. You probably didn't hear about it, though, because nobody really cares about this part of the United States. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, where we were, we got the inner bands that were just outside of the eye the entire time. I have got some wild stories. We lost our house, and that's when I discovered what a hurricane deductible is, which leads me to my first tip. Take pictures and video evidence of everything. Film every square foot of your home, inside and outside. I'm talking open drawers, open closets. You want to document everything. And while you're at it, go ahead and take a picture of your policy numbers so that when you're on the phone with them, you can pull them right up. Here are some more tips. If you plan to evacuate, fill a clear cup up with water. You're going to stick it in the freezer and let it freeze. When it's frozen, you're going to put a quarter on the very top. Leave your house, come back after the storm, check the placement of that quarter. If it's still on the top, you're golden. If it is submerged or if it's all the way in the bottom, you're going to want to clean out that entire freezer. There ain't nothing good, and if you eat anything, you're going to get sick. If you don't have a fireproof or waterproof safe, I've got good news for you. Your dishwasher is watertight. So take as many things as you can that are important documents, and then the things you can't take, like maybe wedding albums or pictures or things that you want to save and preserve, go on ahead and stick them in that dishwasher and close the door. It'll keep them safe. But just make sure that you don't turn it on before you take those things out. That's another tip. If you're staying home like I do, wash all of your clothes. It could be days or weeks. It was 21 days for me. It could be days or weeks without power, and the last thing you need is dirty drawers. When all of your clothes are washed, wash your washer. Yes, you can and should wash your washer. Wash it out. It ain't a washer no more. Now it's a cooler. You're going to fill it with ice, put all your drinks in there, let them sit, and it'll drain just like it's supposed to. Fill containers or freezer bags, I like freezer bags, with water about 3/4 of the way full. Lay them flat, put them in the freezer. You're going to let them freeze up. This will help keep your food inside of your freezer cooler for longer. And then as it melts, it's another water supply. So multi-purpose. Fill your bathtub with water because you're going to want something to flush with when the water goes out. The day before the storm hits, you're going to close all of your curtains and all of your blinds because you're going to want to keep the hot air out and the cool air in. You're going to turn your AC all the way down to the lowest setting. As soon as your power goes out, it's going to start getting hot in your house, and it gets hot quick in Florida. Go on ahead while you're at it and turn your freezer and your fridge to the lowest setting too. Now, this is important. Wait until the very last minute to go get your hurricane snacks. Nothing gets the adrenaline pumping like fighting for your life on aisle 6 for Cheetos and Little Debbie snacks, okay? Bread and milk is going to be gone by the time you get there, and that's okay because those are two of the most perishable items that a person could possibly purchase during a natural disaster. And it has never made sense to me. You're going to make milk sandwiches? Come on. Anyway, let the doomsayers go first. Get the bread and milk. The rest of it's yours. Get you some water while you're there. Not Dasani, though. That's where I do draw the line. You're going to want to shoot for 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 3 days. And you also want a 3-day supply of non-perishable food. If you're too late to the store and nowhere has water, don't freak out. It ain't the water you're after. It's the container so that you can fill it with water. Just get a 2-liter of whatever drink you like, drink that, clean it out, and fill it with water. Half of y'all survive on Mountain Dew and Red Bull anyway, so let's not all act like we're drinking water like fishes now. Get some paper cups and paper plates. How you gonna wash dishes when the water's out? Exactly. Get battery-operated candles or those little solar-powered garden lights because you don't want an open flame in your house for any reason after a storm. All right, write this down. From the store, you need an abundance of Clorox wipes, 47 flashlights, $314 worth of batteries, a buggy full of deodorant. The limit does not exist. Glow sticks, don't crack them till you need them. Raw chicken to appease the gators with when they swim up to your front porch instead of attacking. You can just chunk them some raw meat and they'll be fine. Just right off the front porch. You'll be all right. You're going to want to get a generator, but in case that you don't, you're going to want to go ahead and get a kidney removed so that you do have something to offer the man that tries to sell you the generator after the storm. He ain't got a tooth in his head, but he gets to set the price because you're the one in a bind. So, also for those of you that did buy bread and milk, you're going to want to leave some of that out for Jim Cantori on Hurricane Eve so that he doesn't leave you without power for a week. After the storm, check and see if your local Waffle House is open. That is how we gauge the emergency level. If it's open, you're golden. If it's not open, you in a bind. Now, here's a tip if you want to just completely avoid hurricane season at all costs. You're going to get enough snacks and water to last your family for 3 days, all right? And you're going to put everything in your car. You're going to drive north and west until your snacks and your water run out. And then after that, you're going to get out where you are and you're going to stay there until Halloween. Now, probably the most important thing I can tell you out of all of these tips is this. Whether you are staying in town or you're getting out of Dodge, do not drive over water. Turn around, don't drown. It's very simple. Can't wait to see how your hurricane parties turn out. Hope you use some of these tips. That's it. Love y'all. Yeah.
Yeah, turn around, don't drown. Like those puddles, they look like you can't tell how deep they are. That gets people all this every time. Even when it's a heavy rain, somebody gets it from driving like underpasses and stuff. You don't realize how low the road goes. Really, really dangerous. These cars don't have automatic windows. Once your car shuts down, then you can't even roll down the windows. Like you're screwed. Think you're strong enough to break out of the window, but the pressure of the water is pushing on the window, so you're screwed. What did she say? She said something I wanted to. The snacks. She said 3 days, like non-perishable food. I think that you should get more than 3 days of non-perishable food, because you never know how long it's gonna be. And a lot of times, I've been through quite a few hurricanes, and a lot of times, food tends to be the biggest issue. Like, because stand put is what you want to do in a hurricane. Because when you move around, that's when you are putting your life in danger. But when you run out of food, then at that point, you're like, I gotta kind of move around so I can try to find something to eat, and that's a problem. So like keeping enough non-perishable food is a really key thing to do. What did she say? The Waffle House joke was really funny. Waffle House, like if Waffle House is open, you're good. They said, like, because Waffle House is gonna open. Like, she's like, if Waffle House is not open, you got problems. That's a pretty good indicator. I like that. And the part where she said about dirty drawers, like, you don't want to have dirty drawers. Wash all your clothes before the hurricane. But see, what I would say about that is that may not matter, because if you get water in your home, which happened, I think it was Allison was the one that was like that. And it was like 4 feet of water in the house. A good thing we had a 2-story, so we were upstairs, but the whole downstairs was flooded, and it was water in the house for I don't know how long, like a long time. And so, like, stuff floating around or whatever, like you think you prepare for that kind of thing, but you're not. You're not. It's like, I don't know how much preparation you could do to be prepared for water in your home. The part about the batteries, like, that's so key, like having some kind of batteries. A lot of us folks, we don't have generators, and we don't have money for generators. So like the next best thing is to have lots of batteries, so you can have candles and you can have lamps, battery powered lamps, battery powered everything. will make your life a lot better. I've seen people that use like car batteries and kind of hook them up and get their like fans going and stuff like that. And, you know, even any kind of batteries, lots and lots of batteries. So yeah, it's looking like we're in for really intense hurricane season, given that we already had a Category 5 and it's only early July. We haven't even had the 4th of July hasn't happened yet. And we've already had a Category 5 hurricane. And this Hurricane Beryl, it's projected to go and hit Mexico, but it could totally hit southern Texas. They don't really know. They don't know. They don't know. Katrina was projected to hit us. I'm in Houston, and it curved and mashed on Louisiana. So like hopefully this heat dome that we have over Texas will kind of push it off of us. Like it'll act like a buffer, that dry, hot air that we have. Like, so we could thank our really hot weather to kind of protect us a bit, hopefully. And hopefully it'll push it, away. Thoughts and condolences to whoever gets hit by this particular hurricane or whatever, but I'd rather it not hit us. I'm in Houston, and I'd rather not deal with the hurricane. So yeah, hopefully that heat dome protects us and keeps us from getting hit by this thing. But as it goes on, I mean, like, it's a crapshoot, so rolling dice. At some point, it's a good chance. They all tend to come up there through like the Caribbean and into the Gulf. And, the more of them that come through there, the more chance that we're going to have of getting one. We already had like a major weather event that happened. What has it been, like a month already or so? They called it a tornado. That's what everybody was saying, tornado. But there's no tornado that affects people from Florida to freaking Texas, bro. Like that, again, that goes that cognitive dissonance or whatever, trying to explain away these major weather events that are happening as a result of climate change. Like, that shit was crazy. I ain't never seen no shit like that before. Like, I've seen a lot of major weather events, but that particular one was really strange. It was really strange. It happened really quickly, and it was just like a lot of wind. It blew out the electricity. Electricity was out forever. Good for us where I live. The lights were back on that night, but it was people still without lights like 2 and 3 weeks after that event happened. I think that one of the things, that's why we have to be serious about this and actually acknowledge that it's a real thing, is because we need to build better infrastructure, right? We need to build infrastructure that can withstand these major weather events like this, whatever it is they have to do to make the electrical grid more durable, whatever they have to do to keep from like these tree branches or whatever causing problems and damage, that's what we need to be looking at. Like, just like, get your cognitive dissonance and put it to the side. Get your political freaking perspectives aside, face reality, and let's buckle up our pants and go out here and build a more durable infrastructure that can deal with these major weather events. Because if we sit here and say, climate change isn't real and we don't do anything, and then we just suffer as a result of it, and that's just stupid. That's just dumb, and nobody's going to benefit from that. Like, when you can't go to work, you can't make any money, the lights are off. Like, who is benefiting from that shit? I mean, maybe these major corporations like Home Depot or whatever, but the rest of us are not going to benefit from that. Like, we already have strains on our economy. We just came out of COVID not that long ago. Greatest transfer of wealth in history. And a lot of us are still recovering from that shit. Like, those checks helped a bit, but all the small businesses, so many small businesses went out. People had to change the way they live as a result. And it's like we are already paying a lot for groceries and living check to check, stressing about ends meeting, and we don't just a little, another little disaster, another little push could push us into freaking, man. What I was saying was like all it would take is if the lights went out and didn't come back on for like a couple months or something like that, bruh, we would be in the dark ages. Not only that, it would be like Mad Max. Like people would lose their shit if they don't have the internet. They don't. The way we build these houses, especially in places like where I live, these are little fucking ovens without air conditioning. Like that's another thing. What I'm saying about building infrastructure differently in ways that can, we need to build these buildings so that they're not so hot when we don't have air conditioning. There's some of these places don't even have windows that open. Like you're like, what? They got windows that don't? Yes, there's buildings that's built that have windows that don't open. Like it's fine as long as the electricity is on. The moment the electricity goes out, that thing turns into a freaking oven. Very, very, very dangerous. If the hurricane don't kill you, you die from heat exhaustion. Like literally baking in your freaking home. We need to build these out of materials that breathe or whatever is the technology to make them cooler when there's no electricity. Build them in a way where you can get airflow going through them, so forth and so on. Like these are the things that we need to look at. The weather, like the one thing that's good about Texas, and it's kind of surprising given that all the deregulation, we're like the deregulation center or whatever, but we have some really cool like parks and what do they call them? They call them like water retaining infrastructure, where it's like it's designed to make the water go there and also kind of absorb the water or whatever. And it has like natural, local plants and so forth and so on. And those areas aren't for building. Like they don't build any houses or businesses or whatever in those areas. And the water goes there and it kind of gets soaked up or whatever. Like, and we have those all over the city, all over the state. And those are really cool. So we need to build more stuff like that, so that it's natural ways of dealing with, high water and rain events and stuff like that. Let's read the comments. It says on June 1st, this is the caption. It says on June 1st, it's officially hurricane season. There is a longer video, but lots of new Florida resident means lots of new hurricane preppers. Here are a few common tips to help you survive the season. Also check out the wild colors from Michael's Eye. Here's to hopefully calm season. What's your favorite way to prep? First comment, it says, you, ma'am, are a national treasure. FEMA should pay you royalties to use this video. Such good information and a lot less drier than anything they put out. Other comment says, as someone that works in the emergency management field, I'm playing this at our next meeting. Another comment says, throwing raw chicken at gators at your door is just a joke, right? Nope. Nope, that's not a joke. I don't know Florida as much, but Louisiana, I saw this happen where there was a video. I don't remember what hurricane this was, but it was exactly that situation where the water had risen and it was up to the edges, of the homes. And it was an older couple and they were like on their porch and a freaking alligator freaking grabbed the husband, and the lady was like, I can't remember. She was like pulling at her husband or whatever, like fighting against the gator. And like she turned around or something like that. And the husband was gone. He was gone. The alligator came up on their porch and pulled her husband into the water. So yeah, no, that was a joke. It was funny, but that is a real threat in areas. Here in Texas, we have gators too. Like, you see them all the time in the bayous. They tend to not be that big. They'd be smaller gators, but I don't know, man. I'm sure there's some larger ones out there. So yeah, and once the water comes up, then they're everywhere. So, you know, they're just like any other creature looking for opportunity for easy food. And that easy food might be you in the middle of a hurricane. So yeah, she's talking about the raw chicken. Yeah. I mean, hey, at the very least, you could just barbecue it and eat it. Hopefully you don't need to use it to keep the gators away. I wonder, let's see if there's some replies to that comment. It says, what do you recommend I toss the moccasins that curl up on my porch where my doggies are trying to go pee? Offer up the youngest child first or start with the hubby? I'm thinking the kids are still trainable and like the husband. It says, start with the hubby. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. Totally kidding. Haha. It says, I mean, you can't cook it first. If you can cook it if you want, but the gators really don't care either way. Comment, it says, Katrina PTSD just entered the chat. Tips, no generators in the house, people, or super close by the house. Have a window unit for your whole family having a sleepover in one room for days, weeks. Stock up on medications. That's one thing she didn't mention, medications. If you have, like, if you need insulin, something like that you have to have, make sure you got plenty of that because you may not be able to go out and get it for a while. It says stock up on medications that are life-saving for those that require medications daily. Know your neighbors and check on each other. That's another one too. Like, chopping it up with the neighbors can be very helpful, especially like you might have surplus of something and they might have surplus of something that you don't have, and y'all can do some bartering and trading and stuff too, you know. And just having someone to talk to that's going through the same thing that you're going through can make you feel a lot better too. So like emotional support, I can give that to each other. You know, one thing about humans, when things get really horrible, that's when like the best of us come out, I think, you know. And we all of the racism and political stuff kind of goes out the window, and we're just like preserve humanity at all costs. You know, our natural altruism starts coming out. Our, you know, at the end of the day, we're like herd animals, so we kind of feed off of each other, and you know, we generally, you know, if we were in nature and not divided by all of this, I don't know, the way society is drawn up now, we would naturally just protect each other because that's just what we do naturally. Like a herd of deer or something, you know, one person, you know, more eyes and ears is better for everybody. Somebody notices what the hell, and now everyone is alerted of it. And that's what kind of keeps us alive. When we're out there on our own, trying to survive completely alone, then if we're our own two eyes, our own two ears may not be enough for like a gator creeping up behind you or something. Kind says, do I live in hurricane country? No, but I watched this entire video, saved it, shared it with my husband, and thought to myself, I got to remember this just in case. Yeah, I wonder where this person lives. I don't know what it feels like to not live in the hurricane places, but I'm glad that I don't have to deal with blizzards. So I don't live in a blizzard area. We don't have to deal with blizzards. I couldn't imagine having to be stuck in my home for God knows how long and have to dig my way out through damn snow feet high that's packed hard. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. I can't breathe. Like the heat, I don't even like to turn the heat on in my home because the heat like sucks the oxygen or whatever, the air out of the room, and I can't breathe. hate it. So being stuck in a house with some kind of heat and not being able to breathe and like, ooh, it seemed like they would have a lot of the same problems, like running out of food and stuff would probably be issue for them too. I mean, I really can't really imagine that, but I'd rather deal with a hurricane than a blizzard. Another comment says, absolutely truth. I'm a dispatcher. One more thing to add, police, EMS, and fire will not go to your house and save you after the winds hit a certain speed. Stay home if you wish, leave if you wish. Just make sure you're prepared for your choice before you no longer have the choice. Yeah, ain't nobody coming to save you. Stay put. Make sure you're somewhere safe and got food and water. That's why a lot of times staying home is a good option. But if you can't, if they're telling you that you should leave, then it might be a good idea to leave. But you need to have a destination. That's what she was saying in the video where she was like, yeah, get your snacks and drive north. What did she say? Northeast, and then get out your car and wait till October. Like, it's like you need to have a destination, you know, somewhere to go. Maybe like family or friends that live in another state or something far enough away from the hurricane, you know, because we don't have, most of us don't have unlimited funds to be like, go find a hotel and go be there for God knows how long, because the storm, you know, you never know how long it's going to be. And then if you're able to get back, month, 2 months away, paying for a room, you'd be bankrupt at the end of that. Don't have the money, they kick you out the room, you don't have nowhere to go. Screwed. It said, next comment says, go northwest for 3 days. Girl just took you to a tornado alley. Another one says, I only ever want to watch the news this way now. Please start reporting on presidential campaign trial. Yeah, I like the way she did it. It's entertaining and informative. If they could do the news like that, it'd be nice. I'm not gonna stay on here long, y'all. And I got a headache. What is this? I already kind of did that in the other video. What is this one? Did I play this video? The construction in Grenada? I think I did.
This third and final poll-based projection by YouGov of this election campaign. And I don't want to delay any longer because we can now reveal that based on this data, here we go, Labour is on course for a landslide majority tomorrow with a majority of, get this, 212 seats. Now, that would be the biggest majority for any single party since 1832. It would break a series of electoral records. So that there, the 212 seats, that's the main headline, but there is loads more data that is being released right now that our Deputy Political Editor, Sam Coates, has been going through all the data. You can take us through the key headlines because, Sam, that is the number that the Conservatives did not want to see on the eve of polling day.
That's right, Sophie. This is it. 212 seats majority. That is the projection that YouGov are making about Thursday's general election. And as Sophie says, we are on course to break so many records if this projection turns out to be anything like the result that we get on Friday morning when the votes have been counted. It's bigger, this majority, than anything we've seen in this century. And in the last century, you have to go back to the 19th century to see anything like this before. And it suggests, that number suggests that Rishi Sunak's gamble has failed. The supermajority argument has failed. Look at the history here. You have to go back to 1832 when there was a majority of 224. The Conservatives weren't even in existence. You had the Whig Party and the Prime Minister was the Earl Grey. Look at more recent comparisons. This is where this projected majority would fit. Keir Starmer in 2024 with 212. Now look at more recent precedents. Exactly 100 years ago, there was a Conservative majority under Stanley Baldwin of 210. The massive Blair majorities, really, these are the majorities, huge landslide majorities of our lifetime, Sophie, 179, 167 in 1997 and 2001. Nothing like the 212 that we could see on Friday morning, and then one in 1895 of 153. So you could see the scale of the majority compared to history when it comes to comparing it against single party victories in elections.
It's the moment. It's time now for Sky News' third and final poll-based projection by YouGov of this.
Yeah, so this is important because what I be saying all the time is that if you look at the UK politics, it always kind of reflects the United States politics follows it. So what I would say, what this really makes me think of is how like you can't prevent the inevitable. You can postpone it, but you can't prevent it. So when they had the labor movement in the UK was headed by Jeremy Corbyn, and they had a good chance then, and then they came out with all that stuff and saying that he was anti-Semitic and all of that, and it worked and caused them to lose. So that just postponed the inevitable, you know. So it is what it is. France is feeling it too. So it's gonna go extreme right, and then it snaps back. So that's what happens, and that is the trend. And so the UK, I think, is the one that is the indicator for the rest of the European nations. They're gonna follow suit. So then if we following that logic, then that means that Trump is going to win this one. And then after Trump is going to majorly snap to the left, like a huge political swing to the left after he gets out of office. So that's my prediction. Because I've been following this stuff for a while, and you're gonna see before it happens here in the States, it's gonna happen in France. So you have Le Pen, who is ultra conservative, and she is winning or has won in France, and it's taking Macron. Macron is supposed to be center left, if you will, center right or whatever. Is supposed to be where his political thing is. And even from the first time, I don't think that many people liked Macron, but it was one of those deals where, you know, hold your nose and vote for the person or whatever. It's like he barely won that first time. And like I said, I think a lot of people didn't like him the whole time, but he's been holding on to power for a while. And so now that is coming to an end. But instead of being center politics, being in power in France, it's shifting to right. So again, it's gonna snap back to the left after Le Pen. That's my prediction. So it says Labour on course for a landslide victory on Thursday with a majority of 212 seats, according to the final YouGov poll projection of the campaign. This will give Sir Keir Starmer the biggest majority for any single party since 1832, in a vote which YouGov last MRP suggests will break a series of electoral records. So yeah, all of this is as a, you know, you had Brexit, which was pushing to the right. The right was pushing Brexit, you know, anti-immigration and austerity measures and, you know, cutting of social networks, not social networks, social nets, like food stamps type stuff. So yeah, and then it fast forward to now, and then it's finally snapping back. Anyways, I know I sucked at explaining that, but hopefully you got the gist. Because when the UK went right, then the other nations followed, the Western countries, they followed suit. And it's going to happen again, I think so. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Because it snaps left, and they're ahead. They're a good 4 to 8 years ahead. And the other Western countries are going to follow that trend. This one, it says, Vice President Kamala Harris past donors privately strategize in case Biden drops out. Vice President Kamala Harris' allies are privately discussing what her candidacy would look like if President Joe Biden dropped out of the race for the White House and how they could help her following Biden's disastrous debate performance on Thursday, according to people familiar with the matter. The more and more I think about this whole thing, it's like a lot of this is a distraction because I don't see these things actually happening. And it's like a political windstorm or whatever. And, it keeps us on this treadmill, it keeps us on this roller coaster ride that keeps us from looking at actual issues. And this is what bothers me a lot. It's like what we should be talking about is policy stuff, not this kind of stuff. Because this is not helping anyone. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to do anything. Like who's the face? Is what we're talking about. Let's talk about the policies. It says these conversations have been held over phone calls and text messages between some people who raised money for the vice president during her failed 2020 Democratic primary campaign against Biden and other contenders. These people explained. Key issues include whether Harris would control the massive Biden-Harris campaign war chest managed by Biden's team if the president were to drop out of the race. All of this is speculation, completely speculation. They making all of these stories and writing all these stories, and they're just completely speculating. It's kind of a waste of time. It really is. They don't know what the hell's gonna happen. And maybe, the back people are making these phone calls or whatever. They're preparing for what could happen, which is what you do when you're in, positions of power. You don't really know what's gonna happen, but you need to be prepared for whatever happens. But as far as CNBC writing these stories, it's not productive. I want to move on because most likely Biden's not going to drop out. This type of thing hasn't happened. I covered it in the other show in over 100 years or whatever. The chances of it happening that way is just not. It's just not going to happen, y'all. It's not going to happen. And then the people who vote are going to forget about all of this stuff. The people who follow politics closely, they'll remember, but they are the minority. The majority of people, the people that's going to determine the outcome of the election, I guess the ones that matter, quote unquote, they're going to forget. They're not going to remember this stuff. There's still a good amount of time before the election. Lots of distractions to come. It says the Christian movement that demands its fellow citizens to be held accountable to the strictest of biblical laws, while simultaneously not want to prefer its preferred president candidate to be held accountable to any law, is embodying the height of both political and religious hypocrisy. Yeah, we're so hypocritical. I don't know if I have the clip, but where the guy was asking the lady, about putting the Ten Commandments in the classroom and asking her about indoctrination and all of that. She didn't have no answers. They don't think it through. It's all surface level stuff. It's like, I just want to get this done, you know. They're like, we're a Christian nation. No. It's the 4th of July coming up, and they didn't say nothing in the Declaration of Independence about a Christian nation. And you know, and actually they said stuff about, you know, not that a separation of church state, not being it said, what did it say? It said people can worship how they want. I can't remember the exact words, but basically it was saying, you know, you could choose to worship God however you choose or whatever. Like, we're not gonna force you one way or the other.
Christianity is obsessed with sin. St. Augustine said that we all inherit the sin of Adam. Well, of course he didn't exist, but so we inherit original sin. Original sin came down in the semen. Jesus was not conceived with semen, that's why he's clear of sin. His mother Mary had to be clear of sin as well, so she had to have an immaculate conception. This is all obvious nonsense. This is all theological bullshit. And Christianity is obsessed with sin. St. Augustine said that we all inherit the sin of Adam. Well, of course he didn't exist, but so we inherit original sin. Original sin came down in the semen.
So it's like we're all born into sin and we have to ask for forgiveness, like for our born in sin ways. Like, you don't have to look at it like that. You can say we're not born in sin, and maybe we choose to do stuff that's messed up. We're not inherently evil from our birth. Oh, give us a little bit more credit.
Here they come! 4.5-inch diameter hailstones! Here they freaking come! Whoa! Whoa, Mesomist! One of the most powerful hailstorms! Here they come, folks!
And you're just gonna drive through that shit?
Put the visor down! Whoa, look at the dust! Look at the dirt! Here it comes!
Look at the windshield.
We broke through! We got glass! Glass in the face!
Glass in the face!
Pull it over! Pull the car over! Pull it! Car over! Pull! Softballs.
It says gorilla hail with 5-inch diameter stone reported yesterday near Levelland, Texas. First comment, it says insurance claim denied after they see you went in there on purpose. Another comment says stop screaming and acting like fools in your videos. Act like a normal human being instead of playing it up for your videos. You make great videos, but exaggeration in your yelling and hollering is ridiculous and annoying. And kind of funny. But it's a dumbass thing to do. Well, whatever. I guess we wouldn't have this video to watch if this dumbass wouldn't have done it. So, thanks. Another comment, it says, who else was hoping he'd get a 5-inch hailstone to the mouth? It says, did Sam Kinison record this? I bet you the car is all messed up. Another comment says, want to know what the most annoying sound is? Watch the video with sound on. Another comment says, might be a long shot, but hear me out. Why not just wait and not drive into it? Another one says, over dramatic. Another comment says, big hail comes from hot air, LE global warming. Either that or Yahweh is pissed about you all worshiping Orange Jesus and his windmill cancer sermons. Yep. So extreme weather events are a result of climate change. So we can see more and more extreme weather events like bigger tornadoes, bigger hurricanes, more frequent, bigger hailstorms, bigger rainstorms and flooding, you know. Says Nebraska man shoots and wounds 7 Guatemalan immigrant neighbors. It says a white man in Nebraska shot and wounded a family of 7 Guatemalan immigrants, including 4 children ages 3 to 10, before killing himself. He had reportedly harassed the family earlier this year, telling them to go back to where they came from and to speak English. Racism and guns are a deadly combination, and lawmakers who spew anti-immigrant rhetoric only create an environment ripe for hate-fueled violence like this. Research shows hate-fueled violence is on the rise. In an average year, over 25,000 hate crimes involving a gun, nearly 70 a day. The family is thankfully expected to survive, but this never should have happened. We all deserve to live free from senseless, hateful gun violence. Yeah, this is more of the mental health issues. So the guy, so he offed himself after doing this. He really just wanted to off himself, but I guess he wanted to do something on his way out. He knew it wouldn't be held accountable for it. Or maybe he just had one of those breaking moments, a moment where he just, wilded out. He just crashed out. And then after he did what he did, he's just like, man, I guess I'll just take myself out. The rhetoric is really dangerous, because when you dehumanize people and you make them your enemy, you scapegoat them, and that leads to small-minded folks like this doing things like this.
Chief Executive of the United States of America refuses to abide by the law and the Constitution of this country, that leads to dire consequences for our future.
Has President Biden gone too far with the executive pen?
John, he's gone way too far.
A lot of policies via executive fiat.
Coming in like a king.
This is monarchy.
Are in the land of executive order.
During Obama and Biden's presidencies, the right constantly slammed their use of executive orders and executive power. But the new Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity, as well as the plans laid out in Project 2025, send a very different message now that Trump has a chance to get back into the White House. On Monday, the Supreme Court's MAGA justices ruled in a 6-3 decision that Trump is immune from prosecution for official acts taken while president, and they left the boundaries for official acts purposefully unclear. Experts have warned that the ruling provides a roadmap for future presidents to commit crimes without consequence, including including remaining in power against the will of the American people. In a fiery dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor said, "In every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law." The Project 2025 manifesto says MAGA will be able to rescue the country from the grip of the radical left by letting a future right-wing president use executive power to bypass Congress and potentially fire tens of thousands of government workers and replace them with loyalists. That would impact every U.S. agency, like the ones that prosecute crimes, that work to ensure safe air, food, water, drugs, and consumer products, and that oversee election security. All of the executive branch would only be allowed to carry out the president's agenda without any checks to hold the president accountable.
He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no, other than day one."
Once the chief executive of the United States of America refuses to abide by the law and the Constitution of this country, that leads to dire consequences for our future.
As president.
So what's annoying about this is how hypocritical these people are, because they were talking about, Obama and Biden or whatever, abusing power or whatever. But it's like they're okay if someone is abusing power as long as it's their guy. So, but then you make moves and make room for your guy to abuse power. So, but then what happens after he gets out of office? If Trump wins the election, he'll only be in there for 4 years. At some point the Democrats will be in power again. So then they're going to use those same tools that you put in place for Trump for whatever the hell they want to do. So, when will we wake up and realize that, you need to be holding both sides accountable equally, so that neither one of them can get out of hand. You know what I mean? Do things that you don't want them to do or whatever. You need to put limits on their power, not expanding it. I mean, it's really common sense, but I think that people get emotionally involved in things and they just looking out for their guy. I just want to make sure my guy is good, but they're not thinking 4, 8, 10 years down the line. They don't care, and it's really, really sad. And the hypocritical part of, like, how can you, depending on who it is, the same situation, but the way you want to deal with the situation is different depending on who the person is. And it's like, do you have any spine? Do you have any integrity? Do you have anything that you really believe in? I can't help but to feel like everything that you say is bullshit when, you say one thing if it's this person, and then something totally different when it's the other person about the same subject, about the same topic. Come on, man. This guy is using executive orders and he's out of control. Our guy's using executive orders to take care of the American people. He's doing the right thing. Which one is it, bro? Preach to the choir. It doesn't matter what I say. People are gonna check this map out. Prisons versus jails. So more prisons than colleges in the orange. More colleges than prisons is the purple. So most of the country has more prisons than colleges. You see that? There's only a few exceptions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 11. Did I miscount that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So out of the 50 states, only 11 of them have more colleges than prisons. It says a lot about your priorities. It says a lot about what you care about. It says a lot about what you want for the future. It says a lot about what you think about your fellow citizens.
Happy final 4th of July. We're totally screwed, completely hosed, and fucked up beyond all recognition. It's been one of the worst weeks in American politics in 2024, and it's probably going to get worse. Our collective freedom is eroding with every gavel swing of the Supreme Court. Being president is less about being qualified and more about being an old man who is simply around. I'm not confident in Joe Biden. I'm completely terrified of more Trump. I don't think anyone over the age of 70 should be able to legislate at all. The only thing I'm looking forward to is the blissful rush of DMT as I grasp the bony hand of the Reaper. America is my home and I love it, but it's rapidly becoming one of the most okay countries in the world. I'm still definitely going to vote, but every election I have less and less faith in democracy. Corporations are people and money is free speech, but I'm not a corporation and I don't have enough free speech to even buy a local politician. I get that most people watching this will probably skew liberal, but consolidation of political power should be concerning to everyone. It's only a matter of time until we're celebrating January 6th, or whenever Trump's birthday is. I'll see you at the polls. Happy final.
He said consolidation of political power should concern everyone on both sides of the spectrum. Like, if you let one side get too much power, at some point, the power is going to flip to the other side and they're going to do stuff with that power. Like, I don't know why we're not using our common sense to look forward 4 years. I guess they plan on Trump being the president for the rest of his life or something. I don't know. You know, at some point, Trump's not longer going to be in the picture, y'all. Like, and it won't be long. It'll be like 4 years from now. He'll be fade to black like Obama. So what is your plans at that point? I mean, do you think that the conservatives, do you think that the Republicans will continue to win every election after this one? I want to play this clip again because this is funny to me. He's like, the last 4th of July ever or something like that. What did he say?
Final 4th of July. We're totally screwed.
Welcome to the final 4th of July.
Happy final 4th of July. We're totally screwed, completely hosed, and fucked up beyond all recognition. It's been one of the worst weeks in American politics in 2024, and it's probably going to get worse. Our collective freedom is eroding with every gavel swing of the Supreme Court. Being president is less about being qualified and more about being an old man who is simply around. I'm not confident in Joe Biden. I'm completely terrified of more Trump. I don't think anyone over the age of 70 should be able to legislate at all. The only thing I'm looking forward to is the blissful rush of DMT as I grasp the bony hand of the Reaper. America is my home and I love it, but it's rapidly becoming one of the most okay countries in the world. I'm still definitely going to vote, but every election I have less and less faith in democracy. Corporations are people and money is free speech, but I'm not a corporation and I don't have enough free speech to even buy a local politician. I get that most people watching this will probably skew liberal, but consolidation of political power should be concerning to everyone. It's only a matter of time until we're celebrating January 6th, or whenever Trump's birthday is. I'll see you at the polls.
That's really hilarious. He says, I even wore something special to celebrate. Comment, it says, congrats on your new comment section. I bet it will be normal and good. Another comment, it says, what did Trump do during his presidency to scare you? Another comment, it says, mandatory retirement for all elected officials, 65. You know, I think there should be term limits on the Supreme Court. Them having a lifetime appointment is just way too much, bro. And then they don't have any kind of oversight. Like, they don't have any kind of, like, there's nothing you can do. Like, they're above everyone. So, like, they shouldn't get a lifetime. I think we should have, like, the people swing in and out of there. You know, maybe, you know, okay, you got the House of Representatives only 2 years, then you got the Senate, which is 6. And I understand why they do those cycles, like the 6-year cycles, because they want it to not be so politically motivated. Like, they're so worried about their next election that it interferes with their decisions. I totally get that. And the same thing with the Supreme Court. So maybe make it years or 10 years or something like that. You know, maybe 12 years even. But a lifetime appointment? Come on, man. That's too much. Another comment says, them, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Me, probably as a refugee in a foreign country. Another comment says, FBI agents have retired at 57. Let's do that for all politicians too. Another comment says, what's hilarious is the conservatives that think they will ever vote again if their orange overlord is elected. Another comment says, I purchased a local politician and now I make him say Baba Booey into the microphone at the meetings or whatever. Also, I am the military industrial complex. Another comment says, you have two choices. Vote for an old man who will be replaced at some point by a black woman president, or vote for a fascist diaper filled with pus who will make hunting the homeless a sport and put Tucker Carlson on the Supreme Court. Tough choice. Well, that's a little exaggeratory. Tucker Carlson can't be on the Supreme Court. Another comment says, this is fear-mongering. Stop feeding into the anti-Trump delusions. Another one, a vote for Trump is a vote for Project 2025. His audience is on both sides. Another comment says, one thing for sure, no matter what happens, we will all still be expected to show up for work the next day. You still got to work, buddy. Another comment says, most okay country is generous. Yeah, that was the really cool line. Rapidly becoming one of the most okay countries in the world. That's a really clever line. Another comment says, my condolences on any passing resemblance to a rule of law since SCOTUS decided your president are absolute monarchs. Yeah, SCOTUS has been busy. Busy. Oh, I think I'm gonna wrap it. Says Thomas Paine, one of America's founding fathers, said all religions were human inventions set up to terrify and enslave mankind. Only 6 people attended his funeral. So it says a page dedicated to daily scary facts. So this guy was a founding father, and from those words, I guess he was an atheist. So when they say, you know, this country was founded as a Christian nation, Thomas Paine, a prominent figure in the American Revolution and the author of the influential works such as Common Sense and the Age of Reason, was indeed a controversial figure due to his outspoken views on religion. In the Age of Reason, he criticized against religion and the concept of miracles, which led to widespread denunciation from religious communities. Paine's funeral was sparsely attended, with accounts often stating that only a handful of people were present. This lack of attendance is often attributed to the widespread alienation he faced due to his radical views on religion and his criticism of both Christianity and the church. Comment, it says, Paine was a hero. The scholars at the time argued that the Revolutionary War would not have been fought but for Paine's publication of Common Sense. There should be a Paine holiday for everything he has done and his pursuit of rational and logical thought. Another comment says, I'd rather have 6 true friends than a church full of people who just turned up because they think that's what they have to do to get into afterlife heaven. Another comment, it says, good for him, burning in hell now. That's harsh. Another comment, it says, who cares how many people came to your funeral? Another one, he was wrong, and I hope God had mercy on his soul. Another comment, dude was on to something. Imagine if religion did not exist today. Another comment, it says, it's funny that his radical views were considered wrong when religion holds the record for radicalism. Another comment, it says Christianity is poison along with every single religion to this day and is used as means to control and manipulate everyone to believe a false reality with absolutely zero evidence to back any claim by some clearly made up book that's been written and edited over and over again. Humanity will never evolve unless it rids itself from the clutches of religions, period. Another comment, his final words, stay with me for God's sake. I cannot bear to be left alone. Oh Lord, help me. There's no such thing as an atheist, only those who deny God. Is that true? Another comment, it says Christianity is a faith, not a religion. So I guess he was right about religion. If you think Christianity is a religion, you don't understand it or you just refuse to. So only faith in Almighty God and a relationship with Jesus can save your soul. Christ is King. Christianity is a faith, not a religion. So what do you held? Okay. You just stirred my brain up. Another comment says he was right. However, Christianity is not a religion. It's a relationship. Okay. So the other guy said it's a faith. And this guy says it's a relationship. Another comment says Christ is King. Another one that says he spoke the truth. I'm about to get out of here. I think I'm going to save some of this. Yeah, let me get out of here, y'all. Peace and love. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining. I'm out.